Hey everybody, it's Marla, and I'm here with my friend, visionary psychic medium Luisa Raso, and we've decided to get together and do some conversations around the topic of awakening. Hey Luisa, how are you?
Hi Marla, how are you?
I'm doing good. So we've been discussing the awakening process a little bit because of the current energy that's going on. Um, People have been awakening or ascending more and more. Since 2012, there's been a big shift in consciousness, but the energy that we're in right now, there's another massive shift going on. So we thought these conversations might be timely.
Definitely. I personally noticed myself yesterday when I was at the beach, sitting near my portal, and I could see these different light rays entering the planet, and we're having a huge shift taking place on a collective level where the veil has been lifted, and we're all going to be starting to really get in the depths of this ascension process.
Right. And we're all going through the awakening process. It's a continuous process. So many people are on different paths. Some people are just starting out their journey and some are further along, but we're all still shifting. So me and you, Louise, have been waking up for quite a few years, but we've also been going through major shifts within our own life in the last few months. Um,
That's right.
like
Yeah,
for me, my third eye has gone through a lot of expansion energies just the last couple weeks.
yeah, I understand. I've been feeling that too, and also the thymus and heart activations too that have been taking place as well. Um, that's going to keep on going for a little while longer as well.
Right. So this time around, we're just going to talk a little bit about what it means to awaken. What kind of things do we go through with the awakening process? The awakening process, too, I just want to mention, is also known as the ascension process. They're both about raising our consciousness. And to ascend, we can think of it, we could get the image in our head of actually us rising up. I like to think of it almost as a balloon, and it's like you have to keep dropping things that have been weighing you down. You're dropping those things so that you can go higher and higher.
That's right. It's about raising our vibration and letting go of all the old entanglements that no longer serve us.
Mm-hmm. So, some of the things that people might be experiencing as they go through this awakening process. Well, first of all, some people are probably going to have their psychic and intuitive abilities start kicking in or getting more intense.
Exactly. And what I feel too is like when I look at the awakening process, I look at it as we start waking up to our truth on a soul level of who we truly are. And when that takes place, it's about looking at our own lives and the fears connected to it,
Mm-hmm.
our belief systems, everything that we once were, we start to look at it a little bit more deeper and like through a different lens, like a microscope, say, and things start to shift. And everything that we were, we start to question. It's a time period about questioning everything in
Mm-hmm.
our life.
Yes, exactly, Louisa. Waking up to who we truly are. And it can be a tough process for people when they start having to question the things in their life and maybe seeing that things look a lot different from this new perspective. So as our intuition kicks in, we start seeing things differently. We start this awakening process. It's like things are no longer going to appear to you as they once did. And sometimes it can be a real slap in the face of truth.
Definitely. It's like soul shock on some level. Because just basically your thought system can change overnight, and what you felt and what you once believed in no longer sits well with you anymore, and it can be frightening to just quickly shift like that, shift gear, but it's taken place for your highest good. But at that very moment, it doesn't feel like that.
Mm-hmm. So what other things can people expect as they begin to awaken?
I think you've touched on DNA upgrades, didn't you? There's lots of your dreams will be quite intense during the time period, very vivid. You'll possibly have memories of past lives. Now, whether they're coming through dream state or whether you'll have like little moments of deja vu or memories of certain significant moments in your this lifetime here will play out for a certain reason to retrace and re-look at your life. It's like you're reviewing your life through your third eye, because it's quite highly activated at that stage, and you start reviewing your life like a little movie inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
And significant points in your life will flash up to be reviewed.
And this can be kind of intimidating maybe because people might not be expecting it. They may not even understand it. I know for myself, I had past life flashbacks from the beginning, but it was hard for me to even accept that that's what it was. I kept thinking, like, why do these crazy things keep popping up in my head? What is that? So I thought I was making it up. So it can take us a while sometimes to really understand what's going on. Maybe
Exactly.
like really outside of the realm of anything that we've experienced before.
Another thing that can happen, well, it does happen, it's not can, it does happen, is heart awakenings. Like, I recall when I first started going through my journey in awakening, I was feeling like I was having a heart attack. And it was a constant thing that I was constantly having ECGs because I was getting these strange heart pains constantly, and I was then going up closer to my thymus of fluttering. And it wasn't until some time into it I was realizing that I was actually having heart awakenings, that the shield over my heart was actually trying to come off and to allow more light through. Because we are told, to be guarded on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
And through this process of awakening, you can't be guarded and you can't hide yourself anymore. And it's quite frightening at first, because you don't want people to see the real you. But you have no choice, really, because it's all on a soul level kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, your heart expands through the process, which brings more of you into alignment with your truth.
Yeah. I had I don't remember having a lot of chest pains, but I maybe had feelings of anxiety, like pressure maybe in my chest that I experienced as feeling anxiety, or just pressure. I felt a lot of whirling energy around my heart when I was going through my early heart awakening period. we just feel like energy was just coming out a lot, but I didn't really understand at that time what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with me, cause I lived very much, you wouldn't think so now, but I lived very much in fear mode um, a lot. And it happens to people that love to have their life in a certain manner and sort of controlled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with that, it was the deep, intense heart pain of not wanting to release and bring in the new.
Yeah. Well, I think um, people can experience a wide range
Definitely,
of,
yeah,
different symptoms of how it feels to have a heart awakening. And of course, we just want to say that if you're having, things like chest pain, we're not doctors, so
definitely not.
see
No,
your doctor about something like
It's-
that. But it
during-
it is a sign of having a heart awakening to experience things like that. But you always want to be safe.
definitely. Well, during that time period, I was going in having an ECG every 2 weeks because it was quite concerning, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. But definitely get your heart checked out. It was part of the process of opening my heart up. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and see, you experienced that, and a minute ago we brought up DNA changes, and what we mean by that is when dormant aspects of your DNA become activated through the shift and you experience a lot of body changes. So for me, I experienced things more on a body change. I became intolerant to a lot of foods. I had a lot of skin conditions. I had eczema. I felt depressed a lot of the time. Um, my stomach would hurt a lot. Like I couldn't hardly eat anything. And no one knew what was wrong with me. I would go to the doctor and no one could tell me what was wrong with me. I would have joint pains. I thought I had arthritis because I would get up in the morning and I could barely walk. I was hobbling around. And it took me years to figure out that it was all the physical changes going on within me, and I was becoming very sensitive to many of the foods that I was eating. And once I finally started to realize this, it did help me. But um, I think it's important for people to know that they can have a lot of physical shifts within their body related to the awakening process.
Definitely. And I recall too, yes, I became intolerant to nuts out of the blue. And then probably a year down the track, I was fine eating them. It was your body just goes through so many different shifts through the process of ascension.
Mm-hmm. And of course, all like the other, because you're going to have chakra expansion going
Yes,
on, and so you'll get pressure and aches and pains in different parts of your body as your chakras clear out, or you have what's known as a kundalini awakening.
that's right. Yes.
And then let's see what else. Well, we have to clear away a lot of our old patterns, what we call programming, things that we've been taught to believe by people outside of ourselves, usually our parents, teachers, religious leaders. Um,
Even um, our peers.
Definitely. And
Yeah,
just society in general. I'm thinking of advertising and how we're programmed through advertising.
yeah, that's right. But what takes place, what I found personally for myself, is when it first takes place, it can feel a bit, well, quite scary. It's not all this, oh, everything's just so sparkly and rainbows out there, and I'm feeling the love. Um, it can be scary because your whole life as you know it feels like, to me, what I'm being shown is, like the Twister in The Wizard of Oz with
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy going through the storm. Um, it feels like everything that you thought you had control of, which control is just an illusion anyway, it's spiraling out of control, and it's like you're trying to hold on to everything, and you can't hold on to anything. And that's the most frightening part, that if I had learnt back then, you know, Louisa, instead of trying to hold on, just breathe and allow, it would have made the whole process so much easier to go through than trying to hold on to everything, because you can't.
Yeah. And that's like one of the major things. That's the first that has to be chucked away
Yeah.
when you start awakening. And if you try to hold on to controlling things, it's just going to be more and more pressure piled up
Yeah,
on you.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, people go through many different experiences, many layers of that letting go of control, because that's a big one.
Definitely. And I've been going through the process for so many years now, and it's still an aspect that I've got to work on consciously every day, of let it go, just live in the moment and let it go. Um, because we all have this idea of what our lives should be like, but through the awakening process, we get to see there is so much more out there for us than the little tiny life that we have created for ourselves. There is so much more expansion if we just let go of the reins and go with it.
Yeah, I mean, when we awaken, when we're ascending, especially at the beginning, it can be pretty tough and we can be really frustrated with the process.
Mm-hmm.
But the more we go on, the more we let go of, it really becomes an amazing journey. And I personally wouldn't change it. I wouldn't want to go back to being asleep now.
No, definitely not. No, I don't even know um, who that person was. That was not me. And the more you start being the more of the real you, the more you feel alive. And it's so liberating. It is so freeing. And through the awakening process, it is, you no longer, it's not about what people think of you anymore. It is about, that no longer matters. It's about finding yourself and being happy in your own skin. And that's the most important thing, because the whole part of it is about learning to love yourself, learning to find who you truly are. And it's never about anybody else. It's your own personal journey. And the awakening process, as we both know, we've gone through it and are still going through aspects of it. Everyone's journey is different, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to have a little bit of a different variance because it's your journey. It's what is your truth, and everyone has come in with many different experiences and different things to clear.
Yes, that's so true.
Getting back to beliefs that we have to clear, um, I think this can be a big thing for people when they start to awaken, because it's like things that they took for granted before start questioning. Like, I don't know about you, Louisa, but I can't watch the news anymore. I used to watch the news every day. And
Yeah.
now I look at it and I'm just like, wow, that's a load of bullshit. I can't do
Yeah.
it.
Well, I actually turned the television off January 2015, and I actually went to turn it back on last week for just to test myself out. I lasted 3 days with the TV on in the background. I couldn't sit because I'm not a person that can just sit unless I'm actually doing something important. And it was background noise. None of it. I was so disconnected to the news or anything there, and I'm like, I've shifted and changed so much compared to someone that, say, about 6 years ago would love watching television or the news, and I just can't go there.
I was the same way. Like before I started going through this process, I always had the TV on. I would get up in the morning and I would turn the TV on, and I would have
Yeah,
it on all the time, no matter what I was doing. And
yeah.
now I can go days without turning my TV on.
Mhm.
And the only time I really turn on is to watch a movie. I
Yeah,
don't ever watch regular TV. I don't watch anything that has commercials in it.
yeah,
But there's lots of little things, like we start looking at the food. We start questioning our food. We start questioning, is our water clean? Um, yeah, it's like you just start to see things from a different perspective, and you start getting more clarity, and you start questioning.
everything, every single detail in your life, and that's good. One thing, though, I think is so important when I was going through my awakening process is, and a lot, because I had a very religious background, even though I'm psychic and I've worked as a psychic for 20 years, I still had a very religious background with what I grew up with. And even though that didn't resonate with me in that, I still urge people to research, do as much study of different kinds of things out there is so important to experience and learn and research for yourself to find things that resonate with you, because we are taught, and it's not our parents' fault, it's not really society's fault, it is just what we've been come in with, right? It's an old programming system of you're born, you behave a certain way, you live a certain lifestyle, you get married, you do this, and you've got certain things to do. When you get to that point of awakening, it's like you take the reins back and you say, you know what? I'm going to find out who I am, what resonates with me, what I want, not what is expected, but what I choose to be. And that's the best time to start Google. You know what I mean? Google everything to see what resonates with you and you only. And you will be surprised at what you are drawn to and what no longer resonates with you. It's the best time to research.
Yeah, definitely. I remember doing so much research. In fact, I started researching astrology.
Funny that. Yeah.
But actually, at that time for me, I had not been an active member of a church for a while. But
Yeah.
around the time I started to awaken in 2012, my mother passed away, and that's when I decided that I needed to go back to church, that I was
Yes.
missing out, and I wanted my kids to experience church like I did, because I had been brought up very religious like you.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I took my kids. I would take them to Sunday school and church every week, And that lasted for about 6 months. But it was not the same anymore. It wasn't the same as when I was a kid and I began to see things totally different. My perspective shifted so much. But it was
Yes.
like I had to go back
Yeah.
in order
Exactly.
to be very clear within myself to make the decision of, is this something that I really want and resonates with me, or is this just something that I've been brought up and told this is what I believe?
I totally agree with you. It is so important when you are going through an awakening process, and whatever no longer resonates with you, like as you said with the church there, even old friendships and relationships will come back to the surface, for you to review
Yep.
and relook. So then you can go, like, okay, I'm now divorced, but my first breakup with my husband came in 2012, and it was brief. Brief little couple of months, and because energetically we weren't working together, and it was like, okay, I'm going to give it another shot. I'm going to put my all into it, plus some more. We lasted another 6 months after that. That was it. And it showed me, you know what, I needed to redo it, review it to see if it was my fault, if it was his fault, and it wasn't either of ours. It was just that we no longer worked together. But it is so important sometimes to go back and review things and see it from a different light. So then you know what, you can let go of it and go, this is no longer me, and have no regrets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm divorced now as well, and having to let go of a relationship can be one of the hardest parts of awakening, because on one level, you still care about that person. That other person didn't do anything wrong. It's just, as you said, you begin to shift and you go in different directions. And as much as you want to try to hang on to things, it's just not the same anymore because your perception is not the same. And we'll probably talk about vibration and resonance another time because it's so important, but
yes,
you're on like two different wavelengths.
Yeah.
And it makes it very hard to continue to have a relationship when you're going into opposite directions. And as we spoke about belief systems changing and things, so what you believed a few years ago will not be what you believe as you awaken, yet your partner may have no problem with all those things. And so things like that are likely to cause tension in the relationship. So.
And the way I see it, everything, there's a cycle for everything in life. And people come into our lives for a lot of different reasons, for a lot of different lessons, for whether they're karmic or whether we're meant to have children with them, for us to have heart awakenings, there are so many different reasons. I see every soul contract as sacred, but sometimes everything to me has a use by date. And when time is up, it's time to surrender and let it go. Gracefully, hopefully, most times, but but the awakening process shifts that into gear so quickly.
Yeah, and not just with your romantic partner or your spouse, but you're going to go through a lot of shifts in relationships. Your friends are going to change, family members.
Yep.
You have to just learn to live day by day, actually, to who is going to be in your life and who's not going to be in your life.
And the funny thing is, like, what I look back at, even though, let's just say, some family members or friends may not resonate with what's going on in your life, always remember through the awakening process is you need to be true to you. That's number one. You really need to be true to you and go with your heart. And the ones that really love you for you on a soul level are always going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing, and it is the most frightening thing when it comes to shifting through this awakening process is the having to let go of the old, because it is the most scariest thing of going, you know what, I have to start up again. And as I said, it's not always marriage. For me it was. But people, it could be friendships, it could be family members, it could be a sea change, it could be a job change, whatever it is. As long as you're being true to yourself all the time, that is the most important thing, because whatever's meant to be yours will always find its way back to you. They will accept you more, you being in your truth awakened, than you playing out a role or being someone you're truly not.
Yeah. And if they don't like you for you, then there's
They're
no
not
point having them around.
worth it.
Is there anything that we missed, Luisa?
No, I think we've actually covered a fair bit in this first part of the series. I think we've done well.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so I guess we'll end it here.
Yep,
And
sounds good.
we'll come back and we'll go more in depth in some of these topics. Well, let me just say real quick that we didn't really touch on depression, but I think depression can play a big role, especially when we're first going through the process, because we are leaving behind so much that
Yes.
there can be this sadness. There can be a lot of tears being shed.
Mm.
There can be anxiety about
Yeah,
having to face your fears and having to go through all these changes.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I will touch a bit on the anxiety because you just reminded me of my heart palpitations and all that I thought I was having heart attacks was actually brought on by the anxiety of not wanting to change and release the old. I went through huge panic attacks. So they are a major part of the awakening process if you're not wanting to let go of the old. They
yeah.
come hand with depression.
Yep. So for people experiencing that, that can also be a part of the shift.
Definitely.
Okay, Louisa, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Marla.
And we'll talk again soon.
We will.
Thanks,
Okay
guys,
then.
for watching. Bye.
Bye.